It's not in the face! Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Hey, Not the Face with your host, John Nash, and your producer, me, Steffi Haynes. And today we are going to talk about another big ruling by the Ninth Circuit. And we're also going to take a look at some other things, basically a little bit of a hodgepodge. But first, let's check in with John and see how his week has been.
Spectacular.
Why did you stop in the middle and kind of question it? Was it spectacular?
Yeah, no, it was perfectly adequate. It's been an adequate week.
Adequate.
Everything's adequate. Everything's adequate over here at the Nash household.
What do we need to do to bump it up from adequate to out of this world?
Oh, well, there's so much. I have a long list I'll send you.
Well, I have a list for you as well. It's a list of questions. I know that's not what you wanted to hear, but, you know, I am not the answer girl, but you are the answer guy. So I guess we should get into it, huh?
We can try. As I'm getting distracted by my friend here. How you doing here?
Oh, my goodness. Isla must be in the vicinity.
Yeah, if I start talking to you, she gets a little annoyed that I'm not spending time on her. So.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we shall knock this out so you can get back to Isla.
Yeah, it's not like I just don't spend enough time with her as is. You know, it's the celebrated. It's a year since I had the cat. So I brought her home. So,
but you know what? You took care of her for a long time before that.
Oh yeah, she would stay with me and stuff before. But the year's been the date since I broke her out of the apartment. So.
Oh, I'm so glad she's with you. Y'all needed each other.
Well, she's definitely glad. She's.
You are too, don't you lie.
I'm not getting enough sleep to be glad. Jeez.
All right, so let's go ahead and dive in because you reported a ruling by the Ninth Circuit last week. And this one is something that most people probably aren't paying attention to. So what was the case that they ruled on, and how could that possibly impact the UFC antitrust case?
What are you telling me? Most people aren't following Ninth Circuit rulings, the docket, to see what's being ruled on there?
Only you.
Yeah, even I'm not. Someone alerted me to this one and asked if it could have an impact. But no, last week there was a ruling in the Ronderos v. USF Redaway Inc. Case, and that involved he's a manager for a trucking company or trucking manager. I don't know what the full impact of his profession is, but the full title. But he was working there, and he had gotten cancer, taken a medical leave, and then they fired him, and he claimed it was discriminatory, the suit, and then they wanted to make him go to arbitration because they have an arbitration agreement in their contract. He claimed that was, that shouldn't be allowed, that violated the law, that the law superseded that. They went to court, and the Ninth Circuit, they ruled in favor of Mr. Ronderos, claiming that just multiple claims is that one is that the arbitration agreement didn't stand for one reason because it was in a part of a contract of adhesion. In other words, it was a take it or leave it agreement. There's an unconscionability part to it, that the terms were unconscionable in the contract, that had to be thrown out as a one-sided provision, and a bunch of other stuff. And you read that and you start wondering, could this possibly impact the UFC case, right? And the reason we ask that is because as everybody's aware, I'm sure people who listen to this, for the UFC antitrust case, the second case, the Johnson v. Zuffa, which takes up from 2017 on, a large number of fighters signed arbitration agreements and class action waivers. And so the Supreme Court has repeatedly ruled that those are constitutional, but this ruling by the Ninth Circuit is claiming that that is not constitutional. It's not legal to demand arbitration agreements in certain situations, and this is one of the ones they laid out. So there's a chance that either the Supreme Court doesn't revisit this case, pick it up, if it gets appealed. And in that case, this becomes the kind of the precedent for this type of case. Or the Supreme Court will pick up the case and give us a ruling. But if the Supreme Court affirms this ruling or doesn't pick it up, then there's a chance that the plaintiffs could use this to try to challenge the arbitration agreements for the UFC.
I like that a lot.
Now, before everybody gets their hopes up, there's a couple reasons why the UFC case might not be the same as this one. And one that makes it very similar is their contracts of adhesion. In other words, that's a contract, basically a boilerplate contract that you're handed, and there's nothing you can change on it. And famously, that's what the UFC contracts are. They give you the provisions in the contract. You're not allowed to change any of it, and you're stuck with it. So it's a take it or leave it offer. So that holds up. A lot of the other parts, though, might not, because the state law that was under California law. There was a statute of limitations agreement in this contract that doesn't exist in the UFC that they thought was unconscionable. So there's some differences, but it could possibly open up an avenue where the plaintiff's attorneys could challenge the UFC contract. So we got to keep an eye on that. So that would be great news for fighters that signed these waivers, that took them out of the suit. This could be a way to either increase the settlement pool so they could get a bigger pie, or a way to challenge, increase the pool of the class to challenge the UFC. So it's something to keep an eye on.
When we talk about the Ninth Circuit, tell us about the Ninth Circuit.
Okay, well, the Ninth Circuit is the Western courts. It's the appeal court, the appellate court. So if you go into, let's say, federal court, at a district court like Central District in California or in Nevada District, and you have a suit and you win or lose, you can appeal the next case. The next court up is the Circuit Appeal Court, which would be the Ninth Circuit that covers California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, and some of the other Western states. I don't want to guess at all the of them because there's several, but almost all the Western states are covered by that. And there's 16 circuit courts across the country. So the Ninth Circuit covers that. That's the highest court for all the courts in those states. And after that, the only one above it is the Supreme Court. So that's how important this is. This covers this automatically covers everybody in the Ninth Circuit. And it also sets precedent if it's not appealed or the Supreme Court doesn't rule on it, which would probably apply to the entire country if this is upheld.
All right. So now that we've got that squared away, do you have any final thoughts on it?
Not a lot right now. I think in the coming days and weeks, I want to talk to some actual attorneys. I am not an attorney. People seem to always assume I am. I am not. I got to stress that. I'm just some Yahoo that reads this stuff, but I'm going to speak to some people. I do know it has potential impact on this case. That people pointed that out to me, but we're going to go. I got to get some finer details of the impact and how it could possibly apply and not apply, and what are the chances. And the other thing too is we have to look at the big thing to pay attention. Is the Supreme Court going to pick up this case to look at it, to examine it, this ruling, because they have a long list of arbitration agreement, class action waiver cases they've ruled on. And this seems to go somewhat counter to some of their previous rulings. So there's a good chance that they might decide to pick it up to clarify, either to negate this ruling because it goes against the previous ones, or to clarify, affirm it, and thus clarify some of their previous rulings.
Yeah, this Supreme Court seems pretty packed with justices that would probably rule against that guy, right?
And it's possible because they've done it repeatedly over and over again. Mm-hmm. Multiple cases.
Yeah.
Been cited in this one too. Was cited before that have been ruled by the Supreme Court, usually either out as a split court 5-4, and then later there's several 9-0 rulings because the Supreme Court had ruled so many times before it basically set the law on these. But the Supreme Court, many of the members are Chamber of Commerce type Federal Society. They're still not nearly as packed with the Federal Society, Chamber of Commerce guys as the Fifth Circuit in Texas.
Yeah.
Which is, that's where people go, that's where they go trial hopping right there, to get a to get a court that they want, a judge they want, specifically to challenge certain rulings because they know those guys will automatically.
Yeah, that's when they quote judge shop, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why whenever there's a ruling like the FTC ruling, automatically they're going to file in the fifth district, that's Fifth Circuit, I should say, because they know that who those judges are. It's packed with those type of guys.
Ugh.
And gals, I should say, not to discriminate. A lot of them are female judges.
Yes, they are. And there are some bad ones. We already have seen that. All right. Well, I guess that's going to put a pin in that for the moment. Let's go ahead and move forward. Let's talk about the Sphere because UFC 306 is around the corner. And UFC Noche, brought to you by Riyadh Season, is just a month away. Now, the Sphere ticket sales look like they are not going nearly as well as they suggested that they were. Dana is out there doing all of these interviews talking about how it's going to be the single greatest live sporting event in history. Now, to me, it sounds like he's telling tall tales. What can we take from these ticket sales? Well,
I mean, the tickets started at such an outlandish price, right? It's not shocking to me that they've gone down, but people that track it, Trent Reinsmith has been tracking it. Fred Garvin has been following this. They keep posting updates. The ticket prices keep going down. I mean, they're like a quarter of what they were when they first started.
Wow.
Because what they do is you don't release all the tickets at once because you want to like make scarcity. So there's almost like a bidding war to make sure you can get a ticket. So they release packages. All those tickets are bought up. They release the next one, and then they fluctuate it based on all the ticket sales. If they were gone really strong, they can increase the price at that point. Instead, they've gone all the way down. So what it says to me is, one, there's still a demand for this show. It's going to do very well. Just I don't think it's going to hit the 20. What is it? Dana White said $27 million gate or something like that originally.
Yes.
I don't think it's going to hit anything close to that. I think it's going to be much lower. It's still going to be huge. It might break the UFC gate record, which is 17.7 million. It's very possible. It might even hit a 20 million gate. I just don't think it's going to do 27 million. I don't have the breakdown of all the ticket sales yet, so I don't know the exact price. I think it's possible, even if you look at Canelo's ticket sales, which, are not going gangbusters, but doing decent, it's still plausible or possible that Canelo will have a higher gate than the UFC. So, and which is, Canelo's a massive draw, but this was supposed to be kind of a UFC shot across the bow, and you had Riyadh Season backing him almost as like a message to Canelo to kind of hurt them. It doesn't seem like the Mexican fans that support Canelo are there. There's Mexican fans coming to the UFC, but I don't think those are really boxing fans. I think it doesn't look like he's losing his fan base for this event. So I think for me, what it shows is, yes, the UFC brand's super popular. This show at the for the gimmick night and at the Sphere is probably boosting ticket sales tremendously, but without a specific fighter, because we know that previous sales for the John Jones versus Miocic in New York and the Conor McGregor Chandler fight blew this away in ticket sales before those fights canceled. So I would say that, yes, the UFC brand is pretty strong and the Sphere is a draw, but it does show you that star power still is the number one driver for ticket sales.
And it looks like maybe Sean O'Malley might not be the big star that they think he is. I mean, Aljamain Sterling let that cat out of the bag after their fight. And then we're looking at ticket sales here that are down 25% from when they first released them. I want to ask you something about Fred Garvin. He sent me something and I sent it to you because obviously when he sends me things, they're for you. He said something about Ticketmaster's pricing. He said that the UFC, or maybe it was Ticketmaster, but I think it's UFC that sets that part, that they switched from Ticketmaster's all-in, I'm using that in quotes, all-in pricing, which includes all the fees when you're looking at the seats, to using the more common, quote, seat price, which hides the fees in an attempt to make tickets look cheaper. What do you think of that? to access the bonus content of this episode, you must be a paid subscriber. To do that, go to heynottheface.substack.com and subscribe today.
Ow! Ow! Not the face! Ooh! Ooh! Okay, the face!